This is the first video iteration of the IHMS. We're abbreviating it for legal purposes. I'm Pablo, obviously, mustache and all. That's Jake, big nerd. Season's back, right around the corner. We know who the contenders are. We know who the pretenders are. At least we thought we did after last year. The surprising Team R Loeffler going from the 8th seed to winning it all. Mr. Remy himself. We had the not shocking Dinkelberg losing it all. And his music video should be coming very shortly. Jake, as a previous loser, what's that feeling like?
It's tough. You dread having to do the challenge, but all you want to do next year is rebound and hopefully not have to do it again.
Well, we have a special word from Dinkelberg, which, take a listen. He's out for revenge.
Being this year's loser for fantasy was actually a big dub for me. I'm coming after everybody. Small price to pay, but now my team is going to get good. Watch. Best believe.
And, yeah, he's got those few words. And, we couldn't reach our Loeffler, but we know for a fact he's going to be gunning back for that title. But who knows? We, on the average, don't see it, but let's get it started. Jake, kick us off. Who do you have coming in at 14?
So last place yet again in the power rankings is Dinkelberg himself. Even though he did have 13 picks in the 2022 rookie draft, that did not do anything to get him out of the basement of the league. He's got a pretty weak team. You can consider coming from last place, but he has a lot of high risk, high reward receivers. So that's what you should be watching out for this season is some of his receivers to break out. Someone like Kadarius Toney. That's what you're looking for on his team.
He's got your boy Christian Watson also on that roster. We'll see how he does for the Packers. At 13, these rankings, I just want to say, were averaged out by a 3-man consensus committee done by myself, Mr. Jacob, and an unnamed third who we will leave out of this for parity's sake. But at 13, we have Officer TC himself, Mr. Jacoby Washington. And listen, he added Garrett Wilson. The offseason moves, good for him. Christian Kirk going to the Jaguars, getting paid. Allen Lazard becoming the de facto number one of the package when he's healthy. Cordell Patterson should have another interesting year. And he's got Patrick Mahomes. He's got one of the best quarterbacks in the game. And while it's not super flex, quarterback in this situation is still vital. And so while he's down there, he does have a possibility of moving up, just depending on how everything shakes up following the preseason, the offseason, which it did benefit him in the end.
Coming in at 12th place, we've got the king of trades himself, Thomas Blythe. His team, he's traded himself into a rebuild. So the main leaders on his team is Lamar and Chris Godwin, but other than that, it's pretty bare bones. What you're trying to see with his team is he's got a good young core of receivers. Hopefully a couple of them break out. And he's got a lot of guys coming off injury or just young running backs in questionable situations. So you got to look for someone like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, James Cook, or Michael Carter to break out in their situation and have a good year. But other than that, it's going to be a trade-filled year for Thomas Blythe is my prediction. And he comes in at 12th place.
It's funny considering he went into the offseason with Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, and had Travis Kelce for some point in this offseason. But at 11, of course you're not. Neither am I. I have Derrick Henry now. At number 11, SSOJ Yeti, Josh Gitlin. And Josh has got good players. He's got Dalvin Cook, David Montgomery, Scary Terry himself, Terry McLaurin, or F1 Terry. He prefers the latter. Hawkinson, drafted Kenneth Walker, has Cole Kmet, who could be in store for a big year. Has Stafford, has Trevor Lawrence, but, he's playing Bryan Edwards at his wide receiver too. That's just not going to cut it, especially in a 3-flex league, 2-flex league. It's just not going to work out for him. But at number 10, we have a guy who is struggling with one of his best players suspended. Who do you have at 10?
At number 10, we have JJ Bear, or Josh. His team is hallmarked by his quarterbacks, which is not something you normally want to be saying in a one-quarterback league. He's got Deshaun, who's suspended for the first 12 games, Justin Fields, Tua, and Kirk Cousins, all very solid mid to upper range quarterbacks. So he's got very strong running backs in Austin Eckler, Nick Chubb, but not much depth below that. And then his receiver room is where it gets a little weak. He's got Michael Pittman, who's very strong, but after that it's Mike Williams, and then the suspended DeAndre Hopkins, which, he's looking to move off one of those quarterbacks for another receiver. So if anyone's listening and wants to make a trade with him, but he's towards the bottom of the league just because he's got more quarterbacks than actual good flex players.
Mr. Country Central himself is finally in the market trying to move on. But at his ranking on average is actually 8.33 after doing the average of the 3-man committee. So he is up next because we do have a tie next. But Mr. Big Ricky himself, Enrique, like you said, 2 quarterback setup, this man probably would have won the league last year. Joe Burrow and Tom Brady, sprinkling some Najee Harris, Devontae Adams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Dallas Goedert. He's got himself a good team. Now Cam Akers too. And Drake London added to the squad. But he's still got Todd Gurley on his team, which means one of two things. Doesn't care enough or just loves Todd Gurley. I have a Todd Gurley jersey back there, gift from an ex-girlfriend. Don't wear it anymore. Todd Gurley's not in the league anymore. But moving on, you have someone tied to this broadcast. Who do we have at 7.33 for a tie?
We have Pablo Rosero, P Rose 4. Pablo has made a lot of offseason moves this year. He got Derrick Henry. He also grabbed Hunter Renfrow, Devontae Parker to try to beef up his flexes. Even with these additions, his team's still middle of the pack, kind of edge of a playoff team. He's got a question mark with Antonio Gibson on whether or not the football team trusts him, or the Commanders, sorry. Whether or not they trust Antonio Gibson. His quarterback's a little, James Winston as your starter isn't the strongest, but he's got a strong receiving room and a decent tight end with some all right draft capital for next year. So he's hoping to sneak into the playoffs, and 2024 looks more like a competing year for him than this year.
And he has James Robinson, who's going to be the top Jaguars running back. We'll come back to that later. Up next, tied with myself, is my good friend, Steven Jaworski, at I'm Stevie J, property of Daddy Damon, for the reasons of Damian Harris absolutely carrying Team R. Loeffler, Remy, to a championship. But Steven's got a good team. Aaron Rodgers, Joe Mixon, Jacobs, Tyreek Hill. He was able to add Jalen Tolbert. He's got Darren Waller. Kareem Hunt and Tyler Boyd should be solid flex plays some point of this season. And it's really going to come down to that. Is he going to get RB2 and wide receiver 2, Tyler Boyd and Kareem Hunt? Or is he going to get fringe starters because they're the backup options to better options on their own roster? He's going to be interesting to watch. He was a playoff team last year. And now, talking about the man himself, Mr. League Champion, reigning League Champion, R. Loeffler, what do we got on him this year?
So
ranked a little higher than I would have thought.
We've got our Loeffler coming in at number 6 or
number 7 based on average.
Okay, number 7. Our Loeffler has a pretty strong starting lineup. It's aging though. It's aging with players like James Conner, Mike Evans, Adam Thielen, Tyler Lockett, DJ Chark. So not his window might be closed, but he's hoping the likes of Kyler Murray, Daddy Damien, hopefully he carries him again. As long as his starters stay healthy, he could be back in for another playoff run, but with no draft capital in the future and no depth, 1 or 2 injuries will derail his season and probably send him into a redraft and into a tanking 2024.
I can see that completely. James Conner would be a good piece to trade right now, if we're being honest.
Yes.
I know you're in the market.
I am.
A consensus at 5, we have generic light skin, Mr. M. Tom, Matthew Thompson, and he's got a really good team. He should have a really good chance. He's got Prescott and Zeke with Dallas, Fournette, A.J. Brown, Keenan Allen, Mark Andrews. His flex plays, Brandon Cooks and Bobby Trees, Robert Wood should be good. Then he's got A.J. Green, who should be good until DeAndre Hopkins comes back. He's got Dameon Pierce, who should be the best rookie fantasy play this season, at least at running back, maybe potentially amongst all rookies. Another playoff team, he should have another good shot at winning championship. He was the first year league champion. At number 3.66, one of our old roommates, my current roommate, your old roommate, Mr. McGrady.
E. McGrady. This team, it really relies on the health of Christian McCaffrey.
As every fantasy team with him does.
Yeah. If Christian McCaffrey's healthy, he's one of the top contenders in this league. He's got a strong quarterback in Russell Wilson, 2 top 5 receivers in Cooper Kupp and Stephon Diggs. This is a very strong team with a very strong starting lineup and definitely one of the contenders of the year. The only question is whether McCaffrey stays healthy or if one of his other top receivers gets hurt. There's very little depth underneath that. But with all of his draft capital over the next 2 years traded away, he's really going all in and over the next year or two. So he's hoping for a title this year.
Yeah, and Ethan, if you're watching, please don't beat me that badly week 1. It'll ruin my self-esteem. Coming in at number 3, Jake. If he was a general manager of a real team, the fan base would be happy. First year loser, went on a date with a blow-up doll. His girlfriend wasn't too happy about that, but we were. Now he's happy with his team, and you can understand why. Justin Herbert, potentially going to be the number 1 quarterback. Deebo Samuel could repeat as a top 5 receiver. T. Higgins, low wide receiver 1, high wide receiver 2. Kyle Pitts has a chance of being the best tight end in the league. He's got a plethora of receivers. Deontay Johnson, Marquise Brown, Cortland Sutton, Michael Thomas, Juju Smith-Schuster, Jacoby Myers. Then he's got J.K. Dobbins who can come back. He has Etienne. I don't like personally. Etienne's going to have a great year. This could be a championship team. You've done a great job of building the squad. Screw you for that, buddy.
Hey, it just took one Travis Fulgham trade, and the future's been looking bright ever since. Coming in at number 2 with the average of a 2.33, we have Andres. He's arguably got the strongest starting lineup in the league. He's got the number 1 quarterback, one of the number 1 young running backs in Javonte Williams. He's got Alvin Kamara, and arguably number 1 running back. He's got Justin Jefferson, who's probably the best receiver in the league. DK Metcalf and DJ Moore, who are 2 of the strongest receivers. Devonta Smith, Jerry Jeudy, Treylon Burks, Brandon Ayuk, all top young receivers also. So this is a very strong team, very built for the future and built for now. And it's just whether or not everyone stays healthy and he can get lucky and make it into the playoffs this year, because he missed it last year with a good team. So maybe he's got to see what he can do this year.
The fantasy gods are brutal. And now for the person that has seen the blunt end of the fantasy gods, bottom feeders, Mr. Matthew Gurman, by far, hands down, consensus number 1, has not won it in 2 years. And I can't tell you why. Jalen Hurts, Jonathan Taylor, DeAndre Swift, Jamar Chase, CeeDee Lamb, Saquon, Breece Hall now on the roster, Amari Cooper, Tony Pollard, Miles Sanders, A.J. Dillon, Elijah Mitchell. This isn't an all-star team. This is his fantasy team. 0 titles to this point. Hoping he can get a break this year. But he's got that issue of you might have good plays. You go with the wrong guy. Go with your gut. Maybe he'll win it this year. But as you know with fantasy, week in, week out, it's really just up to what happens. You never know who's going to pop off, like Damian Harris and James Conner and anyone else who helped Germany win that title. I had his first round pick. I wasn't happy with that title run. I'll tell you that much. But I mean, hey, who are you most excited for this season besides yourself?
Probably for me, the team I'm most excited to see, other than Thomas Blythe, because I own his first round pick, is I'd say either Ethan McGrady or Andres, just because those are two teams that could be completely dominant. Both teams that missed the playoffs last year. And I don't know, they could easily be the top two teams in the league this year, but I don't know. It's just whether or not the fancy guys like them and the injuries fall their way.
Agreed with you on that. As I said, Ethan McGrady, please don't beat me that bad week one. I'm very interested in seeing if this is the year Team Big Ricky, Enrique, cracks the playoffs. I'm pretty much hoping for that. Man does not pay attention almost whatsoever.
Doesn't, but he's got some strong pieces there.
He's got some very strong pieces. And I love you, Tommy. You're one of my good friends. I hope you lose this league because I would love to see you start doing some stand-up. That's our loser challenge for this year. 5 minutes of stand-up. And I, for one, can't wait for it. Tommy, if I was hoping anyone would lose, I'm hoping it's you, buddy. Love you. But we'll be back next week. Have fun week one. Enjoy it. You're 0-0 right now. That'll change quickly. Thanks, everyone.
Yep, see ya.
3, 2, 1.